He wrote this at 4 a.m. in a war tent. While Germanic tribes threatened the Roman frontier, while plague ravaged his empire, while conspiracies brewed in the capital, Marcus Aurelius sat alone with a flickering oil lamp and scratched these words into his personal journal. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being. This wasn't philosophy written from comfort. This was a man facing the weight of an empire, writing reminders to himself about how to begin each day. The most powerful man in the world, creating a morning formula not for productivity hacks or success metrics, but for something far more essential: how to remain human when everything conspires to make you otherwise. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up to motivational quotes or morning affirmations. He woke up to reality. His morning routine began with a stark acknowledgement of what the day would bring. One, you wake up in the morning. He wrote, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. This wasn't pessimism. This was preparation. By expecting difficulty, he removed its power to disturb his peace. The emperor's morning formula started before his feet touched the floor. In those first moments of consciousness, he would remind himself of his purpose. Not his title, not his power, but his fundamental duty as a human being. What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee, he noted. His individual well-being was inseparable from the common good. This wasn't abstract philosophy. It was the operating system for his day. Each morning, Marcus Aurelius would confront the temptation to stay in bed. Even emperors, apparently, struggled with this. But his response wasn't to guilt himself or manufacture false enthusiasm. Instead, he asked a simple question: why am I here? Not in an existential sense, but in a practical one. He was here to work, to serve, to fulfill his nature as a rational, social being. Staying in bed meant betraying that nature. The morning hours held special significance for Marcus. Before the demands of court, before the endless stream of petitions and decisions, before the weight of empire pressed down, there was silence. In that silence, he could think clearly. He could examine his thoughts without interruption. He could prepare his mind for the chaos to come. The impediment to action advances action. He reminded himself, what stands in the way becomes the way. His morning routine included what he called morning reflections, a practice of reviewing fundamental truths before the day's illusions took hold. He would remind himself that external events couldn't harm him. Only his judgments about them could. He would recall that everything changes, that nothing lasts forever, that today's crisis would be tomorrow's distant memory. These weren't feel-good platitudes. They were armor against the day's battles. Marcus Aurelius understood that the morning sets the tone for everything that follows. Start the day scattered, and you remain scattered. Start the day resentful, and resentment colors every interaction. But start the day grounded in purpose and principle, and you carry that stability forward. Confine yourself to the present, he wrote. The morning was practice for presence. The emperor's morning formula included gratitude, but not the superficial kind. He practiced what might be called cosmic gratitude, appreciation for the mere fact of existence, for the ability to think and choose, for the opportunity to contribute to the human community. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. This wasn't naive optimism. This was a man who had buried children, who had seen plague and war, choosing to recognize the gift hidden in each ordinary morning. Physical simplicity marked his morning routine. While he could have indulged in any luxury, Marcus Aurelius kept his morning practices austere. Simple food, if any, basic washing, minimal ceremony. The point wasn't self-denial but clarity. Every added complexity was another potential distraction from what mattered. The simpler the morning, the clearer the mind. He would spend time each morning reviewing his principles, not learning new ones. He wasn't seeking novel insights or revolutionary methods. Instead, he returned to the same fundamental truths, deepening his understanding through repetition. Be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break, he wrote. It stands firm, and round it the seething waters are laid to rest. The morning practice wasn't about discovering new ground, but about strengthening existing foundations. Marcus Aurelius treated each morning as a death and rebirth. Yesterday's emperor was gone. Today's had just arrived. This meant yesterday's failures couldn't contaminate today's potential. Each dawn offered a clean slate, not through magical thinking, but through the simple fact of temporal boundaries. The past existed only in memory. The future is only in imagination. Reality lived in the morning's first breath. His morning formula included what he called the view from above, a mental exercise where he would imagine himself rising above his immediate circumstances to see the larger picture. From that height, personal dramas shrank to their proper size. Imperial concerns revealed themselves as temporary perturbations in the flow of history. This perspective wasn't meant to diminish the importance of daily duties, but to perform them without being consumed by them. The emperor knew that morning energy was precious and shouldn't be wasted on trivialities. He reserved his first hours for what mattered most: clear thinking, principled planning, spiritual preparation. The urgent could wait. The important could not. This wasn't about productivity optimization. It was about soul preservation. Spend your morning energy on lesser things, and you have none left for what counts. Marcus Aurelius practiced what he called morning discipline, the art of saying no to immediate impulses, no to the desire for more sleep, no to the temptation of distraction, no to the pull of comfort. Each refusal strengthened his capacity for choice. Each small victory in the morning prepared him for larger victories throughout the day. You have power over your mind, not outside events, he noted. Realize this, and you will find strength. His morning routine included meditation on death, not morbid obsession but clear-eyed acceptance. It is not death that a man should fear, he wrote, but never beginning to live. By acknowledging mortality each morning, he intensified his appreciation for the day ahead. Time became precious not through scarcity thinking, but through reality thinking. Every morning could be the last. Therefore, every morning mattered. The emperor's morning formula emphasized action over contemplation. Philosophy without application was worthless. Principles without practice were mere words. So each morning, after reflection and preparation, came commitment. What would he do today to serve the common good? How would he embody his principles? Where would he direct his energy? The morning wasn't complete until intention transformed into action. Marcus Aurelius understood that the quality of your morning determines the quality of your life. Not because mornings are magical, but because they're foundational. How you begin shapes how you continue. The patterns established in the first hour echo through the remaining 23. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, he wrote, returning to that fundamental moment. Tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being, what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? The things I was brought into the world to do. This morning formula, scratched out by lamplight in a war tent, remains remarkably relevant. Not because human nature has changed, it hasn't. Not because the challenges are the same, they aren't. But because the fundamental question remains constant. How do we begin each day in a way that honors our humanity? Marcus Aurelius offered an answer. Not the answer, but his answer, tested in the crucible of absolute power and absolute responsibility. Wake with purpose. Prepare with principle. Act with clarity. Repeat tomorrow. The formula is simple. The practice is everything.